Hi guys, welcome back to another video. As you can tell from the title of this video, this is all about separation anxiety in children. Just to kind of give you a little bit of background, I'm going to be talking about my little boy Tommy. He's 2.5, and I know children can suffer with anxiety as they get older, and I don't have any experience of that. This is just the experience I have with my little boy. He has suffered with some separation anxiety from around 16 months old. Before that, he was completely fine. My sisters would also joke and say, was he even attached to me at all? Obviously he was, but he was happy to go to absolutely anyone. And it happened when he started nursery. We had to put him into nursery 2 days a week to coincide with my work. I've since done a bit of reading, and I think at around 18 months old they can kind of go through a bit of separation anxiety anyway, so the timing probably wasn't great. If we'd put him into nursery earlier, he possibly would have been a lot better with the transition of going into nursery, being away from me, being away from anyone that he knew. And so it possibly was a bit of bad timing, but it was what it was. We couldn't go back in time and decide to put him in earlier. And before that he was with my mum and her husband, but that was going to come to an end. I already knew that. They weren't really up to looking after him 2-3 days a week, because he is full on, still is full on, but it definitely was full on then. And they are getting older and they want to enjoy their retirement, which is totally fine, and totally appreciate that, and I appreciate the help they gave us when I first had to go back to work. But we had to put him into childcare, and it kind of changed everything. He went from this very confident boy, happy to go to anyone, to no one could talk to him, and it was a bit of a shock to see him like that. Sorry if you can hear any snoring. I've got the baby down here in his car seat. He's fallen asleep, and I've just got him beside me in case he wakes up so I can rock him if he's just kind of stirring from me talking. So if you can hear the snoring, it's him. I apologise. I should have mentioned it before. Probably all that time thinking, what the heck is that sound? It's him snoring. He must be really asleep. So that's a little bit of background. Now, when I talk about anxiety, I'm not talking about shyness. Tommy can be a little bit shy, but he generally isn't. He's a very confident boy, and when he is happy in a situation, he will talk to anyone. He'll go almost with anyone once he's happy in the situation. It's a separation that he doesn't like, and I'm going to talk about a few of the things we've done to help him overcome that. He hasn't fully overcome it. Just this morning I dropped him at nursery and he was on the verge of tears. I kept saying to him, don't cry, I'll get you a little treat later, and he kept pulling it back, and then as I was about to leave, the tears would come again. So unfortunately this morning wasn't a great day for drop off, but last week was. So we are getting better, we are seeing a lot of improvement, although the anxiety definitely is still there. He is like it at home. If I go upstairs, even if he's with his dad. In fact, it's worse when it's not like he doesn't want to be with his dad. If he was on his own, he'd be fine. Occasionally he might call out for me, but I think if he's with his dad, he also wants me to be there as well. But it works both ways. If he's with me and he knows his dad's somewhere else in the house, he wants him to be there as well. So he is like it all the time, but we are definitely seeing improvements. I'm not an expert, I'm just a mum with a little boy who gets quite nervous about going places and being left on his own and me leaving him and things like that. So this is just from my own personal experience, what we've done to help him try and overcome it, because as he gets older he needs to be away from us. Right now I don't have to have him away from me. He's only 2.5, so I could keep him with me all the time, but at some point he will need to be away from me. Even if I homeschooled him, he would still need to be away from me at some point. It's just not possible for him to be with me all the time, and that's not healthy. The whole point of growing up is that you learn some independence, and it's both ways. I don't necessarily want him to go away from me, and he doesn't want to go away from me, and so we both have to allow that to happen quite naturally, hopefully, and gradually. But I could keep him with me all the time at the moment because he's still very young, but at some point he will need to either go to school or to start getting some independence away from me or away from his dad. So these are the things that we've done, some of the tips that I can offer. So my first tip is to be patient. This is not an overnight fix. As you can tell, it's been going on quite a while with Tommy. It's not going to be fixed overnight. Be very, very patient with them. Try not to say things like don't be a baby or don't be so silly, because to them this is real. These are real feelings, and I think some of the feelings can be quite extreme. I have a friend who has got a little girl who is similar to Tommy, doesn't like to go places on her own, and she even is like that at home, won't even go to the toilet by herself. And she was doing some reading, or someone said to her that sometimes when they are away from you, it's as if you don't exist. It's as if you're gone completely. Now that's quite dramatic, but in a little person's head that could feel very real. And can you imagine how scary that would be for them to think that mum or dad aren't there anymore because they've left them? I don't think it's that extreme with Tommy, but it could be, and you don't always know what's going on in your child's head. So don't say things to kind of belittle their feelings. Be very patient with them. It's not going to go away just instantly. So it's hard work. It's tiring. Some of the things that I'm going to tell you about that we do every single week or sometimes daily, it would just be so much easier to say to him, come on, we're just doing this now. Stop being like that. Stop crying. Let's get on with it. It is very tiring to constantly be talking about it and trying to encourage him and the rest of it. It is tiring, but in the long run, it's worth it to have a happy child. So be patient with them. The next one kind of goes along with that, and that is to ask other people to be patient with the child as well. That might be a family member, and it might be someone who they see regularly, or maybe not so regularly, but they do know them. With Tommy, he gets like this with everyone. He gets like this with my sister, who he sees sometimes once a week, twice a week, and my mum, who he sees regularly, and his other grandparents. And he loves being with these people. That's not the problem. He just needs time, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, just to kind of ease into the situation, to know that I'm not leaving, that they're not taking him away from me or going to make him do something that he doesn't want to do. So I always say to people, just give him a moment. Just kind of keep your distance for a short while. Don't ask them for cuddles. But that doesn't work with Tommy anyway. You know, if you start asking him for cuddles, you're asking far, far too much. He will give cuddles, but he just hates it in those situations. He feels very kind of trapped into a corner, I guess. I don't know. But just give him time and he'll come around, and before you know it, he is talking to them more than he's talking to me. And particularly if we've gone to their home, it's a bigger issue if we go to their house rather than them come to us. If it's in his home, he can cope with that. That's I guess in his comfort zone, and so he can deal with that a lot better. If we're going to their home, it's definitely noticeable that it's a lot worse. But once he's comfortable with that, he actually talks to them a lot more, asking them for things. So if he wants a TV on, he doesn't ask me, he asks the person whose house it is, or takes them the TV remote, or he even just like takes food, and will, you know, he gets very comfortable, but he just needs that time. So ask them to be patient and try and get them to understand that he just needs those 10 minutes. So I keep saying he, it's because Tommy is a he. If your child is a girl, it's exactly the same. Just ask them to be patient with your child, and they should hopefully come around. It just means that they're not being kind of forced into the situation, and they can feel a bit more comfortable. So all the tips I'm sharing today kind of all link together. So you being patient, then someone else being patient because he doesn't want to feel trapped, or kind of out of control. And my next tip is to give them some control over the situation. I think that the anxiety comes from having no control over the situation. I'm putting Tommy into nursery, I'm taking him to see my mum, or to see his auntie, my sister, or taking him to see his dad's parents, his nana and granddad. He is losing full control over that situation. So if you're able to give them some of the control over the situation, that could hopefully help them feel a bit more comfortable, and to know that they have control over the situation. They won't have full control over the situation, but it's a little bit of like psychology, like telling them in their mind that they have control. So if you can give them a little bit of control over the situation, they could feel like they've got full control even though they don't. So some of the things that we do for Tommy is when we're going to nursery, he tends to have breakfast there. So I will say to him, do you want cereal or toast today? So I'm asking him a question, what do you want? Rather than just saying you're going to nursery and you'll have breakfast there, that's it. What do you want? We talk about that and ask him what you would like, so he's got a decision to make. And so this morning he wanted toast, so then I talk about the toast and say, right, let's get ready for nursery so you can go and have your toast. Another thing you could ask them to give them a little bit of control over the situation is maybe what route to go to nursery or school. That doesn't really work for me because we park in a specific place and there really is only one route. But if you have more than one way you can walk there, ask them which way would you like to go today. As long as it doesn't take far too much time, that could work. So they've got a choice that they can decide how they're going to get there. Another thing that I do is ask what he wants to do at nursery. Now I don't really get an answer out of him at the moment, but then I start giving him suggestions. Do you want to play outside? Do you want to do some painting? Do you want to play in the ball pool? They have a ball pool at nursery. Now I don't know what they're going to offer him to do during the day. But he tends to forget that I've said that in the morning. He won't go to nursery and say, my mum said I could go outside. I know they're going to go outside because the weather is nice today, so I can pretty much guarantee that they will be outside. What else he does, I'm not too sure, but I'm kind of talking to him about different decisions he could make about his day. Are you going to play with this person? Are you going to do this? So he's kind of gaining some control over the situation. So I don't know every scenario. Just think about your scenario, where you're going, and just kind of think of some things that they can make a decision on. What do you want for lunch today? What do you want to do today? We're going to go out with Nana. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to the park or do you want to go to the play gym? You kind of get the idea. To just give them some control over the situation so they feel more comfortable about what they're doing and where they're going. My next tip is to talk to them about the situation, not just questions about what they would like to do or what they would like to eat, but tell them where you're going. Don't just spring it on them. Don't just say, right, today we are going to the park and to see Nana, or we're going to nursery or we're going to school. If your child is older, they may already know what they're doing that day, but Tommy is quite young and he only goes to nursery one day a week. So if I didn't tell him, it would spring on him and he wouldn't realise what was going on. So I tend to tell him the day before, it's nursery tomorrow, and then in the morning I talk to him a lot about it, what you're going to do today, and just kind of tell him this is what we're doing. We're going to nursery, you're going to go downstairs, you're going to get your shoes on, I'll get you a little snack for the car, and we're going to go to nursery. So he knows fully what's going on. And then when you're there, rather than just kind of dropping them off and running, that might work. Personally, I prefer to tell them I'm leaving. Give them the opportunity to give you a cuddle and to go and do whatever it is that they want to do, rather than you taking that away from them, the control again. So tell them what you're doing so that they're fully aware. It might make them cry, but the difference is you see them cry in that situation, but if you have left, they haven't realised, and then 2 minutes later, once you've gone, they do realise, they're going to cry anyway. The difference is that you just don't see it, which is better for you, but is it necessarily better for the child? So although it's not nice to see them cry, I would definitely much rather not see Tommy crying, but I feel the better option is to let him know what's going on, and if that means I've got to see him cry, then I just need to suck it up and just get on with it. I do feel that's the best option for him, so he knows fully what's going on and fully aware of it. If you're going out for the day or they're going somewhere for the day, let them know exactly what's going on so they're fully aware of the situation and everything that's going to happen as much as you can tell them. Then they kind of have it in their mind, they're prepared for it, and again can feel more comfortable about the situation. My next one is to celebrate when they haven't cried or they've been brave. Let them know that you're really proud of them. I will sometimes give Tommy a little treat. I might bring something to nursery with me if he hasn't cried, or occasionally take him into the shop, although that takes ages. I'll tell him he can buy something small, but yeah, we're there for a very long time if I do that, and he always wants the expensive toys. But yeah, whatever works, celebrate their kind of achievements and make them aware that you're really, really proud of what they've done, so that hopefully they remember that and they can do it again. I'm not saying go out and spend lots of money on them each time they don't cry or each time they don't get upset over a situation. I'm not saying that at all. A celebration could be a little treat, a little chocolate treat, or it could be going to do something they want to do, maybe going to the park, whatever that is for you. We buy little kind of books and toys from the pound shop, so that each time we give him something like that, it's only £1 each, because I don't want it to be expensive and for him to think that he can get huge gifts every time he doesn't cry. And at the moment it doesn't really work. He doesn't remember that he gets things. He doesn't remember, like, from week to week that if he hasn't cried he gets something. But yeah, celebrate wherever possible their achievement in not getting upset and going somewhere and being brave. And my last one is to be consistent. It would be so easy for me to not send Tommy to nursery. Obviously I could take him out of nursery completely. He doesn't need to be in nursery anymore. We started him in nursery when I was working, and I don't work now, so we could take him out. The reason we've kept him in is because we feel like it's taken him a long time to settle, although he's not fully, he is settled once he's got over the initial shock that I've left. He's fine there. I know he is, and when I pick him up in the evening, he doesn't want to come home. So it's taken us a long time to get to this point, and then in about 6 months' time, we'll be putting him in nursery again, because he'll have his 15 hours free, because he'll be 3 then. I don't want to, like, take him out of nursery to put him back into nursery in a short time. I just feel like this is kind of being consistent and hopefully doing him some good. I'm not 100% sure, but there are days when I just think, do you know what, today I'm not putting him through it. I don't want to have to see him cry. There's some days when I can tell he's going to be really upset because he's getting upset at home and not wanting to leave me, and saying he wants to play in our garden, not outside at nursery. And I could so easily just say, no, don't bother, I will stay at home today. Particularly, and also elsewhere, like we go to church and there's a nursery there, and we've been working on him there to try and get him to stay in. I think he's waking up. Someone's joined me. We'll just be a few minutes. Can you see yourself? Yes, so we sent him to nursery on a Sunday, and we've been working on him to try and get him to stay in there. If one day he was crying and I just say, oh, just leave him with me, I'm not being consistent. There's no chance of us ever kind of getting over this hurdle if I always say, just don't bother, just let him stay with me. We're never going to get over this. Now, he is young, so like I've already said, being away from me or being away from his dad isn't really an issue at the moment, but it will be at some point. So you're laughing at yourself. So yeah, be consistent, particularly if your child is older. The more you kind of keep to your routine, the more they realise this is what happens every week or every month or whatever it is, and they'll hopefully just start to get used to it and feel comfortable with it. And kids do extremely well with routine. I think they thrive off of it, and it definitely makes them feel more comfortable about what's going on, and they feel more settled. Anyway, they are my tips. I don't think I've left anything out. Hopefully I haven't. If you have a child who has anxiety and have a little tip that I haven't shared, please leave it down below, because I am always looking for new ideas. We have tried everything and we are not there yet, but we are getting there. But if you've got anything else that's worked for you and your child, please let me know. Just kind of put yourself in a situation and how you would feel, and if there's any chance that you would feel nervous about the situation, just have a little bit of empathy with your child and know that actually it's a bit of a scary situation that you're putting them into, but as parents we can help eliminate that scariness and make them feel happy about it. So I hope some of these tips have helped, and I thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you in my next one. Bye. Are you going to say bye bye, Fraser? Who's that, Fraser? Who's that? Can you see yourself? Yeah, you can, can't you? Who's that? Can you say goodbye? See you later, guys.